Fantasy
All
team
right.
shattered away.
All right, you guys ready?
Yep.
Ready.
All right. Welcome everybody to the Table of Truth. This is your man Cam. Once again, I'm joined with.
And
got a special guest.
Cliff.
Go ahead, Cam. Go first.
Right on. This is the Cam from the West Coast, Cam 2, aka Hater with an Attitude.
And we have a special guest today.
Actually, thank you for that, Cam, because I'm the special guest, so I need to go last and respect the fellas that have been doing this. Cliff from the East Coast, New York City, aka No Cliff. I'm here.
Yes, we got Cliff Bayless in the house.
All right, don't start already.
Nah, man, I'm going to save that for the NFL episode. That's next. We're gonna.
I know nothing about football,
and then we coming back in for it. Ant might join us whenever he wakes up, but we'll see what happens. I'm not holding my breath.
First of all, how y'all doing? How y'all feeling?
Not too bad, man. It's another beautiful day in the neighborhood. I'm still alive. That's I'm being positive.
I'm doing good.
Yeah, right on.
Doing good as well. I had my first attempt at making homemade cream corn.
Nice.
All right, respect.
And it turned out pretty well. I know that's random, but I thought that was an interesting little tidbit. I've never done that before.
Oh, nice. Yeah, man. I've been on my cooking stuff recently, so just finished up dinner today with some chicken with asparagus, roasted potatoes, a nice honey glazed.
Humble brag.
Yo, man, I've been watching a bunch of freaking Master Chef. That show is intense, dude. They changed it to like a voice type format now, and like I don't know how those home chefs literally know how to cook everything. They're like, all right, today you shall be cooking a cheese souffle. Like, who the hell knows how to do that? But
hey, man, if you know your shit and you're a chef, you got to have variety, right?
Yeah. No, actually, it's pretty dope. Actually, I'm actually digging it a lot. It gives me like more like, oh man, I need to try different types of stuff. So, but anyways, good stuff. Been cooking more. It's been fun, and it's healthier anyways. So, but let's get to today's topics. First on the docket, number one album in America right now, Mr. Marshall Mathers, aka Eminem, aka Slim Shady, aka Rabbit.
Wait, it's number one rap album or album?
It's actually, let me double check. It's number one rap album for sure. It might actually be the number one album.
Wow. Okay.
Don't tell Nikki.
Yeah, I think it's it hit its numbers. I think it's the number one album right now.
Don't tell Nikki, she might get mad.
Seriously.
I only listened to the certain tracks about the dissing and some other randomness. I didn't really listen to all the other. So I know you guys got to listen to the whole thing.
I only listened to it once, and to be honest, the criticism I'm going to give is going to be unfair, but it's just my first take reaction to it. So I came into listening to the album kind of with mixed feelings because I grew up with Eminem from the Wake Up Show days, not knowing his origin and finding out he was a white guy that just really had bars coming up in the late 90s, early 2000s. And, when this dude came out, he was different. He was different, but he actually had skills. He wasn't your typical mill Vanilla Ice type dude, or, third base was tight, but, they are what they are. But he came in, connected with the right people. And he had a shtick per se. Fast forward to today, I wasn't really checking. I don't think I've ever bought an Eminem album, to be honest with you. I haven't really been checking for Eminem like that. However, when he does pop up on features from time to time, like the one he did with Busta Rhymes, sometimes it can be pretty dope. So there's a soft spot in my hip hop heart for Eminem because I remember who
Renegade too, right?
Yeah, Renegades. He has some highlights. He's like the white version of Big Pun. You feature him, he's gonna body you if you're not careful. So fast forward, I gave his latest album, Kamikaze, a quick listen. I noticed the cover looked like a Beastie Boys album cover. Shout out to the Beastie Boys. But at first listen, it sounds like a guy that's 45 that's complaining about the new movement, but using the new movement in a parody, but also kind of making money off the new movement. So I understand what he's doing, but he just sounds like, remember the angry mad rapper? He sounds like the angry white rapper. And
I miss the mad rapper, man. Why are you so
Yeah.
mad for?
but I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just like I know MCs and artists want to grow, and I'm not mad at him, but like this is kind of like the content. He's a 45-year-old man, I'm assuming. I think he's 45, and he still sounds very angry. And I don't understand why he's angry, or why does he have to feel a need to prove he's in the Hall of Fame of MCs with bars. He's from a certain era. He had mentioned in one of his lyrics that, you know, we from a different era where we, you know, represented skills and not the mumble rap. And we get it. You know, he's trying to do his Joe Budden kind of take on the industry and all these people he's calling out. I don't know. I'm just kind of like, because when you listen to his album, it sounds like a bizarre ride into like the mind of Harlequin rapping. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just really weird because he has this like kiddie, like Pee-wee's Playhouse type hooks and stuff. And then he goes into some few bars. None of the beats really grab me. There's a few highlighted moments with Royce the 5'9", and I think her name is Jessie Reyes, which is kind of, I was like, oh, this is gonna be dope. And it went into some left field stuff, so I wasn't ready for that. I'm kind of, my album, but people tell me it's dope. Then there's people that tell me this is garbage, or it's just like there was this white guy on Twitter who was making fun of Eminem, and he just did a voice like and just doing this, and it sounded like him. I was like, yo, if I didn't know that was Eminem and he was just fucking around, it sounded like Eminem making fun of himself. But at the end of the day, I don't know. I mean, it's an album, it's out. I don't know how I made number one. Maybe just it's telling where we're at with albums, but maybe people wanted to hear an M album because his last one was Boot.
Which is crazy because that last album still debuted at number one as well. And so
what does that tell us about ourselves?
Oh, yeah. Ninth Wonder was saying this too. He was like talking about that, how like, you know, people, you know, again, you know, people are dumb. So they just, you know, they like what they like. It's not like they're doing anything great, you know? Yeah, his album now, I listened to I listened to the tracks that, you know, everyone was talking about, the dissing tracks or whatever. And it was cool. But you're right. It just sounded like an old dude getting at a bunch of young guys. And I think you're the one that put that quote in about saying how when a legendary rapper disses a bunch of young kids are more excited about being mentioned as opposed to being dissed.
Yeah.
Because
what part of the game is that?
Well, I mean, remember when Fresher was on Revival, like that was the best thing that happened to Fresher in his entire life. Like he was so excited. Like every time you saw him, you wouldn't even have to ask him about being on Eminem's album. He would just bring it up himself. He's like, yo, you gotta check me out on Eminem's album, man. My feature is fire, blah blah blah. But
yeah, it was it's one of those things where it's like, I think Eminem's still dope, which is awesome. But
he's a victim of his own success.
Yeah, but that happens to every artist, and I think for him, he was led because, you know, he's always been mad, more or less. Like he's always been mad. That's his whole shtick.
That's his MO.
Unfortunately, so now he's just mad about the current stuff. He has justification to be mad because all these dudes are whack. But I was laughing because, like, you know, Machine Gun Kelly out here freaking riding that wave as far as he can, popping bottles because Eminem mentioned him in the song. Drop another diss track, which is whatever. Like he, you know,
actually for an MGK record, it was actually pretty decent.
Yeah, he's not bad. He's a solid cat. He's not. I mean, I would not, you know, so I'm not bumping his music, but he can rap. He has a solid fan base. But I think that's the bad part about this whole thing, where it's like, yeah, for Eminem as someone that's mentioning younger people that he doesn't like, it just literally gives them a platform to get pushed up, as opposed to like being like, God.
My thing with Eminem's album is that because the last one was so bad, when I saw that overnight notification that Eminem dropped the album, instantly my expectations were already below the ground. So when I first put on The Ringer and I heard it, and I was like, oh, this is old Eminem, right? And then when it came to a lot of the dissing of the young artists or whatever, people that he has issues with, I didn't mind that because it just gave me a feeling like he's actually trying this time, even if it is a situation where he's just sounding like that old head guy. And I don't necessarily agree with the dissing the young rappers because that's low hanging fruit. That's easy. But because my expectations were so low from the last album, it was just refreshing to hear him sound like he actually gave a damn again. And it lets me know that he listens to what people say about his music, or at least he has somebody on his team that tells him what people are saying about his music and the kids or whatever. So, off first listen, and I think I listened all the way through. I thought it was cool. It was decent. Was it like amazing? No, it wasn't amazing, because Eminem, again, he's in a weird spot where I don't want to say he's a parody of himself, but he's just in this weird moment where he's so popular and so huge that he's almost required by his fans to stay as 1995 M the best he can, even though he's past that, but maybe a certain part of him doesn't quite know how to mature past that. And that's the difference between him and Jay. We sometimes bring this up with Jay and 50 Cent. It's like Jay, in the part of his life, he's older than all of them guys, but he's reached a point where he's been able to move on past certain like emotional walls or guards in his life where he can be open with us. And even though he's had a history of being an emotional emo guy, but it's almost a parody of being an emotional and emo and kind of like edgy. And it's kind of to what Cam was saying before. It seems weird now, like all that edge and
well, you also remember
weird.
Yeah, but you also remember, we've all grown up now. Like, we're not the same younger kids and all that. So now we're all grown ass adults and have different ways to deal with anger and all that kind of stuff. So the angst part is just kind of like corny now, or before.
Yes, we're not checking for white Jesus saying, "Hey kids, you like Primus? You want to see me stick 9-inch nails down my eyelids?" No, hell no. That was 15 years ago. That was cool. Yeah. But now I'm 38 years old. I'm not checking for white Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, as far as spitters, he's in the Pantheon Hall of Fame of spitters who is respected.
And also, where people forget too is two things. One, all his albums hit #1 when they came out. That's one. Two, all of his albums went platinum. Like the last one, even though it was like not people didn't like it or whatever, it still went platinum. So like he's like, on the success side, boom, there. On the respect side, boom, there. So I think for this time, it's one of those things where now that you've gotten to a certain point, it's almost like go have fun and do what you want to do, as opposed to like get mad at.
Well, Joe Budden actually made a good point on the podcast. He said that on this album, Eminem is rapping like he still has something to prove, even though he doesn't really.
True, very true. And also, I mean, I remember when he was, which is good on one end because he's still hungry. That's awesome. But it's bad on the other end because it's like, you could still show that you're dope without naming the whacker guys under you. Like I think there was what album was it that was random? Oh, I was listening to the last like Ludacris album, which is super random, but it sounded like he was on his mom's couch writing rhymes. Like he was on it. The beats were solid. He was rapping fire. Like I was like really surprised. I was like, oh shit, you got some little gusto under you. But also that comes from being in a better, comfortable place. You don't really need rap as your main source of income. So this is fun. So you got to get back to the essence of what you wanted to do. And I think for Eminem, I think he just got bored. And he's like, so he's at this.
And then also to your point, Cam, that's a really interesting thing because you're talking about Ludacris and all the different avenues he has. For M, it's just rap. It is just rap.
Yeah.
But that's maybe a choice of Eminem. We don't know if it's just rap. If he's put in a position like that, or he could take the film route if he wanted to.
Yeah. That's true. He still produces, and he still has his label and so there's tons of things but yeah, I think that aspect of it where, there's nothing, you're right. I think rap music right now is in the weird space because the people that were lording over it for so long are now starting to get older and they're trying to figure out where their place is, like Dre dropped his 444 album. I didn't like it, but I see why people were so into it because of the maturity of it. And he's now a damn near 50-year-old man with 3 kids and is married and he's like showing that in his record and showing that rap can age. So I think for Eminem, I think he probably needed to have showed a little bit that he is a mid-40s dude as opposed to still trying to be
if this is the evolution, maybe the next record will be his 444. You know what I mean? Because Jay had to go through Magna Carta, Holy Grail, Kingdom Come, all that. Like even Blueprint 3 was kind of questionable besides a few joints where it was just
kind of questionable.
Hey, it was an Empire State of Mind or whatever it was, like his biggest record ever.
Man, after the Blueprint, It went all downhill.
Look, the Black Album is 2003.
Okay, sorry. Let me retract. The Black Album is the last album I checked for, just because it had Ninth Wonder on there.
Yeah, I agree.
That's it. But let me say this. Two things. Personally, I think M should have went the route of MJ, Michael Jordan, but AKA Andre 3000, and quit while he was ahead. Yeah. Because everybody wants an Andre 3000 verse, and he just pops up, blesses us, and then goes back and does whatever he does in his own world. Also, I think M sounds like black artists complaining white artists get more shine. But when I say that, M sounds like the guy that saying that these mumble rappers are getting more shine than him. And now he's experiencing, I guess, not the hatred, but being left out because he's not like, because Murs had a song about that. He was like, I know people that's better. And he was I think he was talking about Eminem, but we don't get the shine because we're not white. You know what I'm saying? And now it sounds like M is kind of in that same lane, but he's talking about we don't get that shine because we're not mumble rapping or we're not conforming. And it sounds like he's complaining.
Do you think he's upset that he's not getting the shine, or is he upset because he's a rap purist and doesn't want to hear like mumbly shit?
Well, the thing is though, he's complaining. He sounds like he's feeling left out. Like people don't respect him. We do respect you, M, but like that was that era. Like you could come out and do some dope stuff and be the same on Eminem, but at the same time, am I trying to listen to like just like it's the whole album sounds like that, and then he tries to say I'm different, or he tries to make an album that's different by mimicking and using a parody like some Weird Al Yankovic mumble rap, and it was funny, and he was like, if you ain't Cole, Kendrick, and whoever that dude he had on this feature,
Jordan Lucas, who's actually really dope.
Yeah, that's actually a really good song.
But the thing is, Jordan Lucas in that track sound like the new wave, which is fine. But don't talk about the new wave when you're trying to exploit the new wave by using it to your own means to make it a successful album go #1, just to prove.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, but also too, it's like, you know, all real like rappers could easily mimic the current style and make a fire song exactly the same way without trying. And I think that was the point. But unfortunately, when you make fun of it, you basically make it, as opposed to just being like, before you could make fun of a style and people are like, oh, hey, you're making fun of it. But now you can't even tell people are making fun of it because it just looks like you're trying to mimic it. It's even worse.
You ever see that interview?
To give the young guys credit, you got to have a certain kind of swag to be able to pull it off. Like, I don't want to hear some of these old ass rappers trying to do the double time flow because they be out here sounding really corny.
Okay, let me step back from that comment. Now, the double time flow's been around before us.
Oh yeah.
But Snoop has said it best when he got on the track, one of the hot young rappers, and he was like, man, I got up there trying to go, and he was like, what am I doing? This is not me. I'm Snoop. Stick to my lane. Now, the only one that I can remember right now, gun to my head, was Biggie, who flipped the Bone Thug style and did it where we were like, yo, this is crazy, because he was hanging, you know. He was hanging tough, and he flipped that whole double time rap.
Yeah.
So,
but also too,
a modern day version is J2 on the Carter's album.
Yeah, a little bit. But I would say, like, the thing is, like, you know, rappers don't style anymore. They pretty much have one style, they stick with it, and they keep it moving. And then so the older ones, a lot of them try to at least have different styles. They would have more. They would actually flip styles. Biggie was really good at that. He could flip different types of styles. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. You know, Pac literally had just mastered his one style and kind of rock with it. It was completely fine. Snoop, same thing. Busta was a good example of flipping styles. We could actually go from different, like, double time to slow to middle. You know,
but you know, even back then, I think those type of rappers may have been the exception to the rule. The rule is going to be the Snoops, the Nas's, the Jays, even Kane. Even though he had a really dope flow, they were kind of known for one thing. And then every now and then, you get a Big or a Busta or a Redman that could really flip it. But
I'm gonna give a small shout out to the King of Style, Mike and I, Freestyle Fellowship.
That's true. Hey, actually, I was actually freaking like 5 blocks away from the Good Life this weekend.
What's up?
Pretty random, but yeah, you're right. I mean, the the lost art of rap now, I think in the mainstream, is the lack of styles. Like before, you would have totally a lot of different artists, but in each one would be very distinctive in their voice and in their style. Where like now you really can't tell. It's a mix of the Migos and Drake-ish and all that kind of mixed up together. And so when someone messes around with it, that's when people are just like, oh, you're just trying to copy the style. Someone was talking about Drake. Somebody was talking about Drake and saying how he's really good at copying other people's styles and incorporating it into his flow, which
that's true.
He is. But the reason why
nobody calls him out on that shit.
Yeah, but the reason why is because he can rap. Like that's the thing. Like whether you like him or not, he can rap. And so when he flips a style, and he'll flip that style, do it decently, and then be passable / make a hit record off of it.
True, but it's just, how does he get away with it without writers from the griot and the root breaking down why he's appropriating and blah blah blah?
Because he's a black guy.
Well, when does that stop though? He's not a black British guy or a black Caribbean guy. You know how they do.
Well, I mean, look, we know. See, the thing about Drake is we know what he is.
Yeah, exactly.
He don't go out proclaiming I'm a top 5, top 10 MC at the same time. We understand what Drake is. Drake is a performer. And look, when Drake came on the scene, I enjoyed Drake's music, especially what is the best I ever did or best I ever had.
Oh, yeah. Cool. That was a dope album.
It was fun. But the thing is, though, like I took Drake for at face value. You know, he's an entertainer, but he can make songs and he can make good music. And I was like, okay, that's cool. But then when he got into these rap battles, you know, I expected Drake to get bodied by so-called MCs that live and breathe the battle, aka Meek Mills. And Meek Mills dropped the ball, and Drake is winning these battles, and it became a parody of it. But it was funny, it was cool. But at the same time, I don't look at Drake as like, oh, he's in my top 20 MCs. And heck no, I like Drake for what he is, a singing rapper that he is. He's entertaining, he's fun. I'm not mad at it. Drake is like the version of grape soda. Yes, I drink grape soda because it's good. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, I mean, and also too, like Drake's, and I laugh because for everyone that was like, oh, Drake is whack, and then he can, he raps, and you're like, well, he can rap. Like, I'm not saying he's top 5, I'm not saying he's top 10, not even top 20, but at least the Cat A has appreciation for it. When like, say for instance, when he does a Caribbean type stuff, he works with Caribbean artists. When he does some Afro house stuff, what does he do? Work with Africans. And so one person made a good point. They're like, when the top selling artist in the world wants to venture into a style, but then works with the people of that style, that's almost what you hope to happen, So that's why, like, more and more every time Drake does some stuff, like he's doing freaking Be More About stuff, and the last track has Big Frida sampled in it. Big Frida's in the video, so it's like those little small touches is the one things that Drake actually gets right. And then that way it actually allows him to quote unquote toe the line of like appropriating / not,
So one quick thing too. Also, I'm never mad at Drake for when he jumps on a new wave and does it and try to runs with it. Like when he did the whole barrier thing, did the Afro-Caribbean type thing. It was cool. I was feeling it. I mean, it is what it was. It was fun. I never took it as anything too serious. Like, oh, he's stealing. Yeah. He's us. He's one of us.
Yep.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. I feel exactly the way you do. It's just, here in New York, I'm frequently around the Afropunk crowd, and it's a whole nother mindset about stuff like that.
Well, that's because black is a specific way in that crowd, and so if you're not in that realm, then they all look at you sideways.
Like you have to be part of a specific thing in the diaspora to be able to express yourself in that. That's the argument.
Yeah, but and then that just goes into a whole another podcast.
Yeah.
Do we got a special guest in the house right now?
Oh, hello.
Yo, what's going on, y'all? Cliff, what's good, my guy?
What's good, man? Southern gentleman.
Good, Southern gentleman. I thought we got a little hurricane scare right now, so So it's going.
We thought you was playing Deadbeat Dad again and left.
Nah, I'm here. I just had to get situated. That's about it. Listen to y'all with Drake. I ain't want to interrupt.
You want to chime in real quick? Give you 2 cents.
Well, for me, Drake, he just makes a lot of content. So I don't. My son loves him. I love him. He's the Michael Jackson of rap right now, man. You know. So I can't knock him. I don't hate him. I don't. He's good. I don't think he's in my top. Like you said, I don't put him in a category like top 5, top 10. He just make good music. He makes music that people like to listen to over and over and over, and you need that. And he's nice.
Yeah,
He's nice.
I actually believe in that. Also on the rap tip, we got to say rest in peace, Mac Miller passed away over the weekend.
Rest in peace.
And it was interesting because Mac Miller's one of those dudes that he had a very sizable and solid fan base, but he also fucked with a lot of heavy hitters on the low and back behind the scenes. And so when
underground pop,
so when he passed away, there's a lot of people that were kind of paying tributes. He brought a lot of people on tour. He did, and he was really young. I didn't realize he's only 26. I actually thought he was older.
I didn't either. I thought he was older too.
But yeah, so that I think it's interesting because like you see the amount of people that did work with them, fooled with them, and that kind of stuff. But then also they were also kind of sharing the same thing of like if you are in that depressive state, to reach out, not be solo in it, and all that kind of stuff.
I will say this about Mac. He's one of the few millennial rappers that I actually enjoyed. I remember him. It was oh my God, I can't even think of his name. Who's the guy that came over with Black and Yellow? Wiz Khalifa.
Yep,
that's cool.
Yeah.
So he's from the Pittsburgh area, and I remember one of my friends from Oakland. He had put me onto him a long time ago, and he made fun music, good music. He had a style that was kind of reminiscent of the old school, but it was fun. It was party hop. He had, way out there topics. He was different. He had a couple tiny room sessions. I mean, he did it right. I really enjoyed Duke from afar, and I think I have one of his albums in my little collection somewhere floating in here. So he was one that I like, quote unquote, tolerated, you know what I'm saying? Like, and really respected. And when he died, I was like, that's cold. And yeah, I didn't realize how young he was either. He brought a lot of heads. When he passed away, a lot of heads was chiming in, saying how they really got affected by his presence being gone from this earth. And I didn't know he touched that many people. I knew he had a fan base, but I didn't know it was that deep of a fan base and how many people he really worked with and affected. Because I remember he said he brought on Rhapsody.
Yeah,
he hit up Ninth Wonder and said, "I want Rhapsody to open for me on tour," and that's crazy. So, shout out to Mac Miller.
I remember he came to my attention, I think maybe like 6 or 7 years ago, but I was never a huge fan. I mean, I appreciated his music, I respected him, but I wasn't huge into him. And I think he first popped off like kind of on the college circuit, right? Because he was doing a lot of because that's the crowd that was listening to his music at first. Yep. And then they connect with Wiz Khalifa, and he worked with one of my favorite producers, Pomo. I think he's from Canada, Canadian producer. And then the stuff that he did with Anderson .Paak on the last album was really good. And I haven't had a chance to listen to all of I think it's Swimming is the name of
the new one. I haven't listened to it either.
Yeah, I've only heard like 1 or 2 tracks, and they were both good, but I haven't had a chance to listen to the whole thing. But I just as we said before, I really respected the fact that he got love from not just hip hop artists but jazz artists like Robert Glasper. Glasper's like a hybrid, like R&B, jazz, whatever. There were just so many people around the music industry in general that messed with him because he seemed to be a really cool dude. And when he had to, he could be just a downright cold MC, along with the singing and the instrumentation and all that. So, yeah,
man, it was actually really interesting. I think especially for the young kids too, because a lot of the kids that listen to him have been listening to him since he started, which was like when he was at like 19 or something like that. So then they've been growing with his music, and so the outpouring for the the condolences and all that kind of stuff, but then also the starting that conversation of drug abuse and substance abuse and all that kind of stuff keeps it moving as well. So, but yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Well, the thing with that, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I haven't really played his music, unfortunately. Well, I'm not gonna say unfortunately. I just don't. I'm still stuck in all. I'm a grandfather of music, man. I don't give these young kids chances no more. I try, Cliff. I try. And 9 out of 10 is normally bad, but I just wish that these people would just stay to weed, man. Like these extra drugs and yo,
And
I
that's
don't
a good
know.
point. That's what I was gonna say next. Is like I don't understand. Like obviously we messed with weed and shit back in the day, maybe some like psychedelics or whatever. If we were feeling adventurous, but it's the ease at which a lot of kids today take these prescription drugs and abuse them to just pop off on social media is crazy to me.
Yo, I don't
Like
understand
maybe
though.
that's my old head thing.
Nah, it's not like how can you be like I would chronic is enough. Like where you trying to go? You looking for the gems? Like what's going on? I
No,
don't
but
know where you want to go.
but the thing about that is like with all this social media distress and anxiety that these kids have, if they're not popping on social media in a way that they feel helps their social status, they become very like anxious, and a lot of them feel the only way to come down and to feel good about themselves is taking a lot of these prescription drugs.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna piggyback off that, Cliff. I'm gonna say when we were kids and growing up, what was the biggest thing we were worried about?
Weed, and
Even before that, it was Dare. It was like stay off
Mhm.
drugs. It was Coke. Obviously, we wasn't doing Coke as kids, but it was like you saw a person smoking weed, you thought it was like crazy. And
Yo,
like I said, when you saw Pookie from New Jack, that was enough for me
yep,
to say,
I saw Reckon for a Dream. I'm good.
yeah. But
but you know what?
nowadays, the
Yeah.
kids deal with things differently. We didn't deal with depression when we were kids. That didn't exist. You know what I'm saying? Like, so nowadays kids have more accessibility to this pharmaceutical drugs, and they abuse it because it's a way for them to escape instead of finding another outlet. For us, the outlet it toughened us up because our parents would be like, hell no. Because remember, in the Black community, it's taboo to say I need to go see a psychiatrist or I'm dealing with depression because that's looking frowned upon. But now it's kind of normal. But then I think, in my opinion, these kids are going about trying to ease their stress a whole different way, and sometimes it's not cool because he was depressed because he dealt with drugs, but because of his breakup with Ariana Grande, it really took him to a deeper level that I don't think he could deal with, and no one really was there. I don't know if anybody was there, but I mean, obviously, he decided that drugs was his only outlet. So
Yeah, and also too, I mean, like people dealt with depression in our time, they always have, but it's just like it was done a different way, and then it wasn't as widely talked about. So like now, the most interesting parts to me is people talked about depression. Like you listen to Ghostface albums, he being emo about his stuff, but he had different ways of dealing with it. But if you talk about now, a lot of the kids when they're dealing with depression, they're automatically turning to pills and whatnot to kind of dull it or whatever, as opposed to like working through it or all these other things. So we're in a really weird spot where like people are depressed, but then they're popping Xans all the time, or they're using all these different types of drugs. That's the first thing they go to, as opposed to sitting down talking about the feelings, whatever. Or even with someone talking about the depressing music and how like there's all the emo rappers, and like it's always been there, but it's never been at this level where it's like so many people keep talking about it over and over and over again. And it's even crazier because
And see, that's the thing. When I hear, not to interrupt you, Cam, but when I hear like I think it's Juice World come on the radio, right? And he's talking about I take pills to make me feel fine. It's just like I don't. It's weird to even listen to that after Mac Miller. You know what I mean? It's like it's not a game.
Yeah, but the way they look at it is that's how. I mean, America's over medicated. We all know this is long documented.
Yeah.
But now it's one of those things where it's crossed over more on a popular realm, like the Molly Percocet song and all the other dumb shit where it's like people are hearing it in their music now. So now it's like, oh, that's what I do. I hear them doing it too. Okay, now I feel like I'm normal, as opposed to, all right, maybe I'm taking way too much drugs, or maybe I do need to seek somebody out, and all that mental health stuff. And like, there's tons of things. And I think a lot of people are getting. It's good that people are talking about mental health and having that conversation, but then also, in a time where we're more quote unquote connected than ever, and we're even more like lonely, as everyone keeps saying.
Well, as far as going back, as far as drugs, my psychiatrist was the fucking leather belt. Like if you did something wrong, you get your ass whipped. That's the first. So that alone, we was all scared of that almighty beating. So, and as far as us with drugs, I think it has. Trying to connect when you said about social media, we all grew up with friends playing sports. We was all social. So if any one of us did some dumb shit, I think one of our friends would have picked it up. So we wasn't as stressed because we was playing sports. We were just doing more things were interactive. So I think with today's kids, it's all they just doing stuff by themselves, or maybe maybe their friends ain't really their friends. It's just social media friends.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I say, there's a new study out that people are talking about how teens would rather do a text group text and talk to their friends.
Yeah, so I don't think it's really their friends. It's all a front. It's all a front to me. And then when the cameras go off, the Twitter goes down. They stress as a motherfucker, and then they lean to different drugs. I'm not saying this is 100% accurate, but it's just different now because we was never like this growing up. So how did it just change all of a sudden?
I mean, I think it was still there. It's just, buried down deep. You're not talking about going to the therapist to work out your anger management issues or your depression.
I mean,
yeah,
like, because every generation has their own thing, right? Like, because the generation before is like, what the hell are these kids doing? I can't believe it. But it manifests in its own way in every generation.
Yeah, I mean, also too, I think I do like that people are utilizing mental health services better now, at least to get help, really talk out their feelings, and that kind of, because we all got issues from childhood up to now and this and that, because whatever. But I think also too, unfortunately, the other downside of that is, you're right, the over reliance on drugs and pills to quote unquote normalize you is the part that's like, I think is the bad part of it, because you have way too many people that are just like, I know folks that were like just on Xan all the time, like waking up, just wake and bake. Wake and bake was like, oh, I know that, but then now it's something they're just popping these pills like every single day. I'm like how are you normal? But
Cam, what are you stressed about? What are you? What is street? What's getting you to the point where you have to? What's stressing you out?
And I didn't get enough likes on my Instagram. And
yes, some of this stuff. I'm sorry to say, man, you got to man up, woman up a little bit, because if our generation didn't go through this, why is it different? Why does it have to be different?
Let's be fair, and their minds are wired differently than ours because they were born into the internet, or a lot of them were.
Yeah, that's true too. And also remember, think about it. If we had social media in high school like they do now, it would be crazy.
My mother had that leather belt. So that belt was the balance. That was the Darth Vader of this whole shit.
But nowadays, that's child abuse, Ant.
well, yeah.
There's physical abuse. There's mental abuse. There's I don't know. There's like 17 of them now, so I can't even chop it up anymore.
But I used to threaten my mom and say I'll call child services. She's like, you just call them. I'll beat your ass before they get here.
Yeah, I'll beat them while they there. I'll beat them. Yo, listen, the best. That's why I always say, man, Joe Jackson, he's one of the greatest. You got all your kids in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, man. Like you can't sit here and say that beatings don't work. You can't. I'm not. Listen, I'm not before disclaimer because I know everybody's so sensitive now. I'm not promoting violence. I ain't promoting abusing your kids. I got a hashtag. Don't take me serious to an extent. But yo, man, it can't be that different, Cliff. Even with social media. People, it's too soft now, man. Like, what are you going to drugs for? Why? What's so stressed? Why are you so stressed, man?
I mean, like I said, man, it's more a mix of social media adds to the people's anxiety. There's more people with anxiety now than there ever has been. Just with cases like people actually going into the doctor, like I have anxiety, and that mixes with social media, which compounds you seeing other people's stuff, blah 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 blah, FOMO, all the other crap. So there's like so many different factors that impact your life, like. People just trying to unplug, and like that's a big deal. Oh, guys, I gotta take a break from Facebook. It's just too much, or I gotta delete Instagram off my phone, or all these other just things. Like the amount of information that's coming to you all at once is fucking up your whole situation. Where it's harder for you just to be chill because you're like comparing yourself or doing all this extra stuff, and not everyone handles it differently. And so that's why you're seeing him the more of the anxiety, the more of, FOMO and all the other stuff, which adds to depression and, all that kind of stuff.
Yo, I met a girl who lives by me. She's stressed out because she had to water her garden, and because her mother told her to, and she's stressed. She has to see help. I'm like, yo, the littlest things is stressing you out. I guess people like it. I guess we're just wired different, man. We're just wired. I'm wired different. Stress. The stress to me is when you're renting, you can't make your rent or some shit. That's stress, man. Everything else, they I don't know.
Yeah, actually, I was 2 weeks ago. I was hanging out with one of my friends' couple. They have a 4-month-old, and they have a 4-month, and they have a 4-year-old, and white couple. And the 4-year-old was a terror. Like, she was running around.
Wait, Cam, did you just give a disclaimer?
Yep. I said this specifically because I was watching this go down, and 4-month-old baby, 4-year-old was running everywhere, like rolling on the ground, making snow angels. Like, we're in a hotel situation. There's mad people like walking around, and then just making a scene and doing. And I'm watching this, and I'm laughing because my nieces, if this was my niece, like, that would have never happened. Because the way my brother has raised his daughters and his sons. But also, too, there's a certain level of almost exasperation that the parents had. Like, I don't know what we're going to do with this. She's just all over the place. And there's, like, no control over the child. Which on one end, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. The kid could be free and do his other thing. But on the other end, as a Black person, I'm like, yo, this child would have died. like a Black parent would have picked them up by their head and be like, what are you doing? But that contrast in how the parenting styles was interesting to watch, because they were like literally just exasperated. Like, they were so tired. They just they looked and because they had no control over their situation, where I've seen the exact opposite, where I've seen parents that be like, they have complete control. Like, and I laugh because my brother, he's like, you don't negotiate with terrorists. Like, your children are terrorists.
Yeah.
They
got no rights.
Like beatings. It's like we took, and when we say beatings, we mean butt whoopings, people. But
exactly.
When we took butt whoopings, you either came out like us, normal upstanding students, or you turned into old dog and was menace to society. So it could go.
It go either way.
So beatings or butt whoopings didn't always turn out right.
True.
But I am a proponent of the better side of disciplinary action.
I think it added a sense of respect and level of authority. So I noticed that the most. Like, my sister-in-law, my other brothers, she negotiates with her child all the time. And I noticed that when I saw that her daughter didn't really respect her. Like,
we got to negotiate.
Yeah, exactly. She was yelling at her. She was cussing at her. It was like really disrespectful. And then she would try to do the same thing to me or any of my brothers. And we're like, who are you talking to? Like, you're a child. You have no rights.
You better go sit your behind down somewhere.
But it also goes back to like seeing those kids. And then so now you have kids that grow up that were negotiated with, and they kind of got, they got the participation trophies. And we talked about this earlier before, like Ant was, talking about as well. But I start to see it now, where I see the results of all that now, where it's like harder for these kids to have, to deal with adversity, and like they're stressed over things that they shouldn't be stressed over, that kind of thing.
But you know what, though, kid? You know how this conversation used to end? But why, mommy? Because I said so. That's it. and if you talk back, you might get roundhouse. But it wasn't
not to extend this out too far, much longer. But today, Aunt, you have to talk to your child why they are participating in a conversation as a human being and not being dictated to.
Yeah, and Marcus is like, Anthony, have a conversation. I just don't agree with the way you talk to me. I think you should treat me as a man and not talk me down to me.
Listen, I'm Captain Picard in this ship, yo. You do what the hell I say, or I'm dropping you off somewhere in the moon somewhere, man. That's it. I'm beaming you right out of here. That's it. We're not talking. But I don't. It's funny. I talk this now, but I have yet to hit my son. But I do give him the stares of all stare. My tone of voice change. He knows when I'm upset. I count to 5, and that's shit. He knows after 5, do not play with me. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and break it down to why I told you can't have that bag of chips.
And so that just goes like he actually like has a respect for you and understands what you're saying. But if you look at
you gotta see me and love me.
Yeah, exactly. Now, speaking of disrespect, Serena Williams
Oh,
was
baby.
disrespected heavily. Although, to
Heavily.
be fair, what she was arguing about, she was slightly in the wrong, but the way it was carried out, I think, was completely wrong. And so, like, that's the thing I had to go back to. I was like,
that was Stephen A. Smith's argument.
No, Cam. So let's give a little context.
Oh yeah, go ahead. To break it down.
Well, as much as I know, so U.S. Open, Serena versus Naomi Osaka, who I also follow on Twitter. Good follow. Both are of African descent. Serena, obviously African American, and Naomi Osaka is Haitian and Japanese. And so they were both in the final, and you know, for the black community, this was a win-win situation. Basically. However, all jokes aside, the controversy arose when Serena was accused. I think the first violation, she was accused of cheating because they gave a thumbs up, her and her coach in the sidelines, and I guess the dude called her out on it. Then something else had happened where Serena exploded in a tirade. Slammed the racket, had a tirade, called the ref a thief, and there was a big controversy and kind of resulted in her losing the match. So at the ceremony, and I'm paraphrasing, but at the ceremony, you know, I guess the crowd was in there booing or kind of mixed reaction, and Serena was like trying to be the bigger person, was like, hey, let's not divert the attention away from the real winner here, which is Naomi. But you know, because I was like, I have my own gripes, but let's remember who won the match and let's celebrate that. And the aftermath of that, comics were coming out saying that she was a spoiled, I think a spoiled loser and a hysterical.
I think one thing that people have to realize. I'm sorry, go on, Kim.
No. So go ahead.
I was going to say one thing that people have to realize is that, you know, Serena, even more so than Venus, because I think Serena's a bit more of an emotional player, is that they've carried the weight of being kind of I won't say the first black women, but the first black women to do what they do, right? And how successful they've been. She's had to carry a lot of that and the racism that's related to that and the sexism that's related to that for years now, ever since they were little kids. So, you know, whether or not the ref ruled by the letter of the law, you know, obviously he didn't handle it right, but that's why I'm not too like hard on like she shouldn't have acted this way or that way, because she's carried so much on her back, her and her sister, for all these years. There's really no other way you can react when a situation like that comes up, because you've carried that weight for so long, not just for them, for Black America overall. And in a space where we're supremely underrepresented.
Yeah, and also there's already been tons of tweets talking about these are all the white girls that did the same thing. They never got penalized for it or that kind of stuff. So that's already out there. But I think also too, it's not so much of the actual match itself that happened, whatever. It's more the reaction after. And I think that's the part that people really are more upset about. Jamil Hill was talking about that too. And I think whatever happened with the match, bad calling, whatever. All right, that's the thing. But then it's the more the reaction and the reporting of it, and how the same trigger words were used for a black woman, angry black woman, hysterical, meltdown, those type of things, as opposed to use with other athletes, whether it would be argument or tough words or something to that effect. And so that's the part where they're trying to a lot of people were trying to make the point of. And of course, like you said, the amount of racism and sexism that they've dealt with literally their whole career, even though she's top 5 athlete of all time, adds to it even more. So then whether she was wrong or not, now it's become more than that,
Well, can I say something real quick? Well, and I want y'all to chime in on this statement. Well, for one, as far as the angry black woman, I didn't really like the drawing of what the artist did with the picture. Now, as artists, maybe that he just being artistic, meaning she's an angry black woman. But we'll get to that in a minute. But with Serena, I have a problem with. It is not her fault. But if you want to be labeled as just an athlete, you got to stop throwing out that woman card for that purpose only. I get it that she's a black woman. I get it that she's a black woman and she has to carry the weight. But at the end of the day, you are an athlete. And when athletes complain and they get called for a penalty, you cannot throw in, well, it's because I'm this, it's because I'm that. If you want to be treated equal as a man, then you cannot keep throwing out the women card to a certain extent.
We'll put
and I want y'all to chime in on that. And I'm not vilifying her for that, but if you want it to be equal, you're just gonna have to just take it, man.
Well, my first reaction is like, okay, here we go again. Someone did something stupid, and we're all going to come to the defense of Serena. But after kind of weighing it out and looking at it, so the flip side is I used to watch tennis, and there was a player by the name of John McEnroe. John McEnroe was infamous for his tirades against the refs on the side, or the sideline judge, excuse me, cursing them out. And so a lot of backlash towards Serena has been she's a spoiled athlete or like a sore loser. And to a point, I understand that. You know what I'm saying? I think, and she was accused of cheating, and I think her coach even said, yeah, I was coaching her at the end of the day. So
yeah, he did say that.
So the ref was right, you know, and Serena did make this whole like I'm holier than thou attitude. It's like if I cheated, I would just rather lose. Boy, you were cheating.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the right. I'm just going by what I heard. You know, if that's the case, then you know I thought it was another case of the ref trying to be bigger than the game. Now, on the flip side is the perception is she's getting called out for what white men have done, or excuse me, white people have done, let alone white men have done. And she being a not only a champion, but a black champion, but a black woman that is a tennis champion. That's not the norm. Also stands out. Now, a lot of people said she's not doing anything for women's rights. This is not, and to your point, and the pundits who are also white, the tennis pundits were saying that this does not have anything to do with women's rights, blah, blah, blah. And I kind of had to take a step back because I had to understand the situation as best as I can from the outside looking in. Do I think she overreacted? Yeah. I mean, but if she wants to have it's like fighting in hockey. It's part of the norm. She wants to chew out the ref. She chew out the ref. People like that. It's entertainment. But when she started to bring the women's rights, you got to be careful because this is not something to talk about pay or nothing like that. You got caught cheating. He called you out on it.
Yeah,
what it is, you know. And
well, my question, because I don't watch tennis like that, but
yeah.
I heard one commenter say that a lot of players get away with stuff like that, and obviously, it's against the law, the rule of the law in the book, but it's not called that often or something like that, or at least in important situations like that. So does that factor in?
I mean, I think a little bit, but I think also the bigger issue to me is it's like, was she wrong? Probably. Did she break the law? Yeah. Did she deserve to lose a game? I don't think so. Just for the fact that
if that didn't get called, would she have won, or was Osaka already so far? Point.
So I think the precedent,
she was losing. I think.
Well, it's not even. Yeah, it's not even that because I think this is the part where the umpire messed up. I think there's been precedent where people argue with the ref. That happens. Whatever. The fact that she lost the actual game and that's something that's different. That's the reason why people are really more upset. And I think that. Again, if she didn't lose that game, she more likely probably would have lost. And honestly, that would have been the best outcome. Oh, young up and comer won, Serena lost, and Serena's a good loser when she loses. She's like, oh man, you got me. All right, I'm gonna get you next time. Like it wouldn't have been a thing. I think the fact is because that the judge actually doctored a game, and that hasn't happened in a long time. And for people that do similar things, and that's why I made it extra. Then on top of that, she'd already had issues with French Open and all them about the bodysuit and stuff. So it was like it just compounded everything. So whether she was right or wrong is almost irrelevant. It's more about the reactions of everything after.
But you know what's funny though? Like for instance, the NBA. Do you know how many superstars can curse out a ref? But if a best player does it, he'll get called the tech. It's the same thing.
Yo, you ain't chewing out Joey Crawford. You gonna get Tim Duncan got ejected. You get ejected.
Yeah. But it's a double standard for sports. Period. That's just how it is. And now, if she feels that it's because he's a woman, he's a man. I'm not going to sit here and dispute how she feels because she plays the game every day and she sees it. But if somebody makes a call, you can't say, "Oh, you're doing it because of this. You're doing it because of that." Because if that's the case, any athlete can say that.
That's a good point. That's a good point. As much as I'm sure Serena's felt that she's given to the game, and literally, it's a fact of tennis makes millions of dollars off of Serena Williams. maybe she's at that point where it's like, I've earned, the benefit of the doubt in these situations, or at least for you to let it pass by.
So give her the LeBron treatment. That's what she wants. She wants that superstar treatment.
I mean, not even that. I think like I said, whether she's wrong or right, to me right now is irrelevant. It's more about the aftermath, because the way people reported it and how it was brought out, that's the part that a lot of people are calling foul on. The actual match itself and her losing, how she lost, and the game thing, yes, that's part of it, but it's the aftermath. It's the words like hysterical, it's the words like meltdown, it's like those type of things describing a woman athlete in a situation that if it was a male athlete, it would have been like, talking tough or having words with somebody, or that kind of stuff. And I think that is the part that people are really getting to the issue of, not so much the actual like what happened during the match.
Well, I'm going to say this too. With black athletes in general in the media, and with the most recent Mark Knight's cartoon, it just serves as a stark reminder of how black champions are being depicted for decades. Yep. If you take a look at the Mark Knight cartoon, it shows a Serena Williams. It's a caricature of her, but the Naomi character is a white girl with blonde hair. Now, Naomi Osaka she's of dark complexion, and she has blonde highlights or blonde streaks. She doesn't have all blonde hair. The girl he drew was a white woman. Now, however, to his credit, he's done this with male athletes. He's done a lot of satire before with other athletes. So he did not single her out. He's done it before. This is not a one-off. But I also feel on Serena, I think she may owe Naomi an apology. Maybe in private, she doesn't have to say it, but I think she took away. This was the equivalent of La La Land and Twilight actually winning.
Yeah,
I agree. We didn't get to embrace Naomi as a champion.
You're right. I agree.
As a person of color, I wanted to celebrate that and not talk about how Serena had an outburst or these trigger words. What it is what it is. She got pissed. She got caught for cheating, and to the point, she should get the quote unquote superstar treatment from all the time, because all the superstars get it, and it's because she's a woman. We have to be extra careful at that. But at the same time, if you get caught, you get caught, and you got to take that for what it is.
And I think in general, I think I think especially for how people were treating it after, that's what just, like I said, that to me, that's where I always stick on. It's like just the way they presented it. Like that cartoon was horrible. It was just like it was. Just,
no, the cartoon was bull.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna say this. The last thing is that, as a champion, she can be better than this. And look, we're harder as people of color. We're always harder on our own, and it's always an unfair advantage at the end of the day. But she has to carry herself as a champion. And Michael Jordan got called for travel a couple times too. So
just a couple.
Just saying. He wasn't perfect. You ain't perfect either. So
yeah,
I will say this though: when she threw out that the women's red card, it became so hard to criticize her. It was almost like, dang, you.
Well, I mean, that is. That's the get out of jail free thing, man.
You threw that get out of jail card free, and it's like now I can't even criticize you for saying that. Well, but. I am still, but it's like she made it very tough when she did that. It was like, oh man.
And honestly, she wasn't wrong. I mean, that's
she wasn't wrong. She wasn't wrong. She wasn't wrong. I think she wasn't wrong.
The way the treatment has been for her and how this whole situation is.
She
got fined $17,000. She lost a game. Mm-hmm. And then you look at you look at exact similar incidences and how they were treated. It just wasn't the same. So, in that respect, I think that's what it goes down to. But we talk about this with Kanye, we talk about this with Jay and other black artists at a certain level and athletes that they could get a different level of scrutiny because they're black, but then also they're at that level, and that kind of brings us like to where the whole thing with Kaepernick now and the whole Nike campaign.
Mm-hmm. Oh, is that a segue?
Yes. Oh yeah, good segue, good switch.
Hey, someone's over here.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Message.
So our man Kaepernick, who hasn't played a game in 2 years now?
Yeah.
He still hasn't played a game in 2 years, but he still has like the number with like on the top 5 jerseys in NFL sales as well.
Oh, when you say that, keep that in mind.
Yep, I was gonna say that. So I'm gonna lay out the whole thing. And also, too, who, although he hasn't been playing for 2 years, was still on Nike's roster of sponsored athletes. He got signed in 2011, it is now 2018, and he has been part of the sponsors athletes since then. Nike did not drop him. And so they named him as the head of their new campaign that they were coming out with. And, very simple messaging, and I thought actually was done really, really well. And it was done well, but it was also done on purpose because they knew by doing this specific move, they would spark conversation / outrage / media buzz. So by naming him the face of it and then debuting this campaign and pushing it, like they knew they would get the outrage they would get, but they also knew they would get the love that they got. So it was like a perfect microcosm of viral campaigning, which accounted to them to get easily an extra 30 to something % extra sales and how they're doing it.
Check it out.
Man, I'm about to.
So let me say. I was to say this one thing before because we all ready to go, right? We ready to go on it.
Oh, we ready to go on this way.
Can we say one ground level thing about that?
Okay,
in no way, shape, or form is Nike ever going to do something of pure intentions dealing with that? Let's get that out the way. Let's
get that out the way. Right the fuck.
Because I hear people now trying to make that argument. It's like, why are you even bringing that to the conversation?
Yeah, let's get. We're gonna get that out the way right now.
I thought Nike was woke.
Like, yo, I guess I'll start off first. I don't, but
Nike's an Apple Pop next year.
I'm gonna say this, and this is to Cap. This is to Nike. I'm all for the awareness. I'm all for that's it. But if you're making a bottom line off this and you're capitalizing off, then everything here is all a sham to me. Because we always keep saying sacrifice. Muhammad Ali did a little sacrifice. He didn't get a dime. He sacrificed his career.
Wait a minute, Ant. He got paid off of his appearances on college campuses. I think he didn't have the endorsements, but he got paid while he was.
He also went to jail though.
He ain't making no Kaepernick money. He ain't with Nike. He was not.
He ain't making no Kaepernick money. No,
that's what I'm talking about. He's not making more money than what other boxers was making when he was out the game. So Cap is making.
But Ali wasn't sitting around like begging for alms. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, but he made the message clear. He sacrificed for the cause. I'm not saying Kaepernick didn't do that, but I guess this is more for Nike. If Nike's doing this just to make money, I think this is all a sham.
Well, the question, and I know we're all ready to go, but the question is, because we question Nike's intentions, and do you question Colin Kaepernick's intentions? Because this is not purely about the movement.
Do I question Kaepernick? I'll put it to you this way, Cliff. See, once you start making money, everything changes. So that's a good question. I can't really answer that. I can't really answer that.
This is how I look at it. It's basically like, can you be corporate woke? And I think that that's gonna be the title of the podcast now. Right. But anyway, but that's what it comes down to, though. Can you be corporate woke? And this is the part where people are kind of struggling with because they're just like, all right, here's Kaepernick, who prior to this campaign and all this craziness had been, he got 100% blackballed by the NFL. There are a bunch of bums that are quarterbacks right now, and Cap, who is not dope, he is average to maybe one step above average. So he should actually be in the NFL anyways, but he'd already been doing all his philanthropy stuff and all that. So the fact that a major corporation realizes that, okay, here's one of our best selling jerseys and, we're making a new campaign. Let's put him on the face. Boom. That gives us quote unquote street cred. Plus we can make money. And then Kaepernick gets to get his message out even more. Black people have a little bit more of a symbol that they want to roll. It looks like everyone's happy in all these little realms. So I think it's more interesting where people are like, when people become woke or quote unquote, which I hate the word, but I keep saying it, is once money's involved, everyone automatically thinks it's a bad thing. Like, what if the money that he's been using, which he has been, if you go on the site, you can see all the philanthropy stuff he does. It's like, if Nike is backing Cap, but he's using all that money to do good stuff.
Broke.
Yeah, I'm like, yo, man, make it happen. I think that's dope.
Yeah, you're only righteous if you're broke.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna call it negative because at the end of the day, Nike is a business. So they got to do what they have to do to make money. But it better be some proceeds going to something. I'm telling you that shit right now. Because you can't sit here and tell me we're doing it for a cause, but my jersey still costs $49.99.
Yeah, why not?
My Kap and Nike shirt is going to cost you $100, but I believe in the cause.
Why not? We still live in a capitalist society, and I think this is the aspect of, like you said, you can't be righteous and be broke at the same time. Is because this is the most interesting thing to me, where for some odd reason, unless you are pious and you got sandals with no socks and you're walking around being all broke and asking for hand-me-outs, then you can be righteous. But if you actually get paid off of doing good things, then people are like, oh, I don't know, man, where's that money going? What's this? What are you doing? And it's like, dude, if you look at all the stuff that Kaepernick's been doing up until this point, he's been pretty transparent. Like, yo, I'm giving $100,000 a year.
He's giving away millions of his own money for his causes.
Yeah, right. But so you're gonna charge me a Kaepernick hoodie? Afro Kaepernick hoodie is gonna cost me $50? I gotta pay for that?
Hey, that's all. If you want, it's just like Beyonce, yo. If you how much is the movement? How much is the movement for Beyonce's concerts? $210. All right, I guess the movement costs $210 now.
The thing is, we mistake, what effective activism is a lot of the times, because we see somebody that stays broke like Gandhi, right? Obviously he changed the world, but a lot of times people on the ground, for the most part, they never reach that level, right? And they still have to feed themselves, feed their families, or whatever. And there is a bit of whether it's self-righteousness or a level of attention seeking in a person that doesn't take any money and just wants to be broke because they feel they're more righteous than somebody else, and they get a dopamine rush in that. So that's not always entirely pure in itself.
True, that's
true end as well, because that feeling of moral superiority is also a form of not selfishness, but it makes them feel good.
Yeah, I'm also curious too, because I think I've had this conversation before. It's like what is the correct thing to do?
Exactly.
So to not do the campaign and do that, like I'm still not there yet. Like, Cam, you can kind of on this.
Okay, so here's a new title for you, Cam. It's called Conscious Capitalism.
That's even worse. I like
that's even worse.
All right, and conscious capitalism is a sneaky bastard at heart. So it basically, Nike is saying we can get marketed, quote unquote, branded, quote unquote, and revolution, quote unquote. Now let's take a step back. Let's rewind. I want to say maybe the early '80s, to a time where Nike was just coming up, and there was a commercial coming out for a shoe that Nike was promoting, and it used the Beatles song that was owned by Michael Jackson at the time, but that's neither here nor there. And they use a song, Revolution. Paul McCartney, who did not own the rights to his song anymore, heard it on the Nike commercial and was freaking livid. And he was like, I did not want this song about revolution to be selling sneakers. Fast forward to modern day times, where we have Kaepernick. Now, personally, I am a fan of Kaepernick. I am a fan of what he stands for, what his movement is about. He's a good dude. I didn't like the Niners. And that was my own personal bias. But outside of that, being a quote unquote revolutionary, trying to bring awareness to African Americans being murdered by law enforcement, that I was 100% behind. And I was behind him because he was getting black, and he still is getting blackballed by the NFL. I truly believe that. However, there is a fine line between, being conscious and doing this for the people. But then when Nike stepped in, my first reaction is bullshit. It's black capitalism and it's taking over. You know what I'm saying? So I look at it as like, yeah, we know Nike is not, his true intention is not to step behind and say we're behind Cap. And all these people, these narratives where they're burning shoes. Well, remember when NWA was having all these records like Fuck the Police and all that, and these people were stepping on their albums, but at the end of the day, you still were buying it, and Nike's laughing their ass off. You talk about the jerseys. Yeah, low key, Nike been supporting Kaepernick. Kaepernick is fine. Low key, he's been sponsored by Nike before all this deal went through, and they're just seizing a moment because they know the black community who's already behind Kaepernick is going to get behind him even more because they're going to buy his jersey. Before the Nike ad came out, people were buying this jersey just to support him anyway. Nike saw that as an opportunity, cha-ching, to get money and sell money. What's Nike's agenda at the end of the day? To make money.
Oh yeah,
just do it. Just do it.
But also,
but I mean, it was smart because I'm sorry. Go on, Kim.
What I was gonna say is the other thing too is going back to, like I said, capitalist situation is, I'm laughing because because we live, again, goes back to social media. The social media activist is kind of like, oh, I could do my hashtag and support Cap or whatever and be like, okay, cool. I'm down with the cause, or I could buy a Cap jersey, which, you go to his website now, he has pre-sales for the Kaepernick 7. It's all in black and that kind of stuff. Cool. It's probably going to cost as much as the other jerseys. How much do jerseys cost now? What, 75, 80 bucks?
About 100. Well, it depends.
Yeah. So I think the other part too, which I always laugh about the whole anti-capitalism part of it is the fact that people like get mad at people trying to make a buck. They're like, yo, Nike's just doing this so they can get money. It's like, yeah,
but that's like, duh.
That's what they do. Like, it's on you whether you want to support that or not. And if you don't want to, that's completely fine. But I don't see no one freaking burning any of their Jordans.
Right. I think the negative connotation comes through like when you go to church. The church is for the people. But at the end of the day, they get that collection plate and then you see the preacher outside with the nice whip. You're like, man, hold up, you're supposed to be for the people. You got this nice Cadillac. And so that connotation kind of segues into when we see people who try to do good but also make money, and they're kind of seizing off the machine that they're kind of against. So it kind of goes twofold. You have to walk a fine line. Tommy Smith and John Carlos didn't get no endorsement deals when they were drafted.
They even lost their scholarships. When they got
the degree when I graduated.
Yeah. But that was like, what, 30 years later, 40 years later?
But I'm saying, like,
does that mean times have changed?
A little bit. It just means that, activism is profitable. So
times have changed as far as what? When you say times have changed?
Well, exactly what Cam said, where activism is profitable.
Yeah. When you were blackballed, because like Ali, like they took his prime years, 3 prime years. He didn't get no endorsement deals.
He was broke.
Yeah. So nowadays, Cap is lost, but low key, remember, Nike sponsored this dude. His jerseys were still selling. He was still collecting a check at the end of the day. Don't make it seem like Cap, because he was blackballed out of the league, that he wasn't getting any money. He was still getting paid. And I'm not taking anything away from the brother. Like I said, I root for the brother because of what he stands for outside of the NFL, which is a whole different beast. But let's not paint the picture that Cap's pure agenda was still be broke and try to make his call. No, he was doing his due diligence, but he also had a backup plan too.
I also think that he's done a good job of transitioning into making a second life. Like you can't be an athlete anymore. You got blackballed. Now what are you gonna do? So what he's been doing? Philanthropy stuff. He's been speaking. He's been working with other artists that want to do other, because that's his 10 for 10.
And his plans to do a lot of the future work that he's trying to do. It's going to take some money. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know how much was left in his deal from when he got the endorsement deal with Nike all those years ago. But for what he's trying to do, he's going to need a nice amount of money to build out that infrastructure if he never gets a job in the NFL again.
But Cliff, it's almost like an activist being sponsored by Don King. Like you cannot deal with somebody who's all about money. And when you deal with Nike, that's a corporate business that's only intent is to make money. So that alone dilutes your whole message to me. I love the commercial. I love what it stands for.
I don't think it dilutes his whole message. I think it's just like, I take it as a marker as to where the culture is, because Cam with a K said that this is black capitalism, right? And he's right. That's a whole nother discussion of a level of how the Western economic system works. That's I don't know how many years in the future of being able to systematically break down or deal with. But
that's why I said that little though.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, for what we can do right now, if we can get the cultural conversation to go in the direction, if we can use Nike, and maybe that's Colin Kaepernick's plan. If I can use Nike to take the cultural conversation in a certain direction for that small win right now, how can we build on that in the future?
And I think that's a better way to do it, because I think the problem that I think what comes down to a lot of it is like say for instance, Black Lives Matter, right? So there's an actual Black Lives Matter website, a charter, the whole nine. Then there's break off groups in different cities. Certain cities have actually broken with Black Lives Matter, the main charter, because they don't agree with certain things. So now they're doing it on their own and they're independent. So Black Lives Matter, the main group, I think they're 3 women, 3 or 4. And so they're starting to work with other nonprofits and all that kind of stuff. So some of the moves that they're making is not vibing with the DC chapter, the New York chapter, I think Philly as well. So they broke off and now they're doing their own thing. So it all just depends on your certain philosophy. I think I give Kap props for saying, all right, look, if I'm going to do some stuff, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. All right, I'm going to give away, $10,000, or I think it was $100,000 a month to different charities. I'm going to be transparent with it. And if I get this money from Nike, I'm going to take the money I got from Nike to be sustainable. And then you do good with that money. And I think that's the part that people always get wrong, where when someone says corporate or capitalism or a business, they automatically think it's a negative thing, which 95% of the time it is. But if you actually take that money and do well with it, I think that is a good thing.
But to Kim's point, does Kap really need Nike for this movement?
100%.
Because the position that he already made, he already had a backing ready for that, for the protest.
Movements cost money, bro. As much as everybody wants to talk about,
I was going to say that.
It's not that, and they want to be like hashtagging and I'm down with the cause, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, it's not that Kaepernick needs Nike. It's not that he needs Nike, but it's nice to have that money.
Mm-hmm. And now
therefore, are we doing this for the money, or are we doing this for the cause?
I think you can do it for both. I don't think it don't have to be mutually exclusive. I think that's the part. That's the problem. I think right now everybody wants to be this 100% pure one way or the other, and it's not. And in this current state of capitalism, you're basically going to have to figure out how you can merge the two.
I'll say it was just a question. I'm not saying that's how I stand.
Yeah,
I mean, in a perfect world, do I want them to be separate from all these corporations? Hell yeah, I do. Because at the end of the day, they ain't with us. They're not really with us. They're not for us.
Well, they're with us. They're with us as long as we keep buying, Nike shoes. Because people buy more Nike shoes than white people. So I mean,
if Kap was really bad for business, they wouldn't do this move. They know.
Oh, that's a fact. That's a fact.
So, at the end of the day,
this is a genius marketing move for me on the way I look at it, and I think this. Conscious capitalism is, and this is the one thing I'll say is, and I've said this before too, is if we want to change this aspect of things, I think we have to start investing in ourselves. So I like that Kap was reaching out to other artists and athletes and then doing that 10 for 10 thing. Like, yo, I'm gonna put 10K of my money. You're gonna put up 10K of your money. We'll give it to this, thing. I think that is dope, and we need more.
That's dope.
And so what we need on a higher level is the Jay-Z's, the Diddy's, the Oprahs, the people that have that did the Dre's and all that have that type of money. All right, well, let's start a VC fund and let's fund Kap because he's doing things for the people, blah 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 blah. So now he doesn't have to have corporate money. But until those type of things start to happen, you're going to have to figure out where you're going to get your meal from, and then till you become sustainable.
Well, and I'm gonna still rock my Nike, but I kind of, it's almost like I know they're for the cause, but at the same time, when I see you with a line for this, you're about your bottom line too.
Oh,
so
for a fact.
I mean, we wasn't burning. Also, to the people that was burning Nikes, you wasn't burning them when they was underage workers.
Yeah,
exactly. You know what I'm saying?
Word.
Nike been trash, like as far as the corruption and all that other stuff that they be doing out behind the scenes. So now all of a sudden, a dude that's standing for righteous is getting sponsored and getting pushed to the forefront. And now y'all want to be upset. Maybe the MAGA hats is made by Nike. I ain't burning them. You know what I'm saying? So
word up. Good point.
Yeah. And also too, you have to remember as well. Look at how shoe deals are switching now. So you have non-athletes starting to get shoes. Kevin Hart has a shoe. Gary Vee has a shoe. Like they're starting to look at exactly why.
Stephon Marbury had a shoe.
Because Gary Vee.
Stephon Marbury played in the league though.
Yeah, and he's in China.
Gary Vee is the Michael Jordan of his space, right? So this stuff is broadened out from years past, where it's not just about Kevin Hart that are the cultural
it's more about the influence, less about the before. The influence was always the athlete. Now it's starting to switch. So as you start to see non-athletes get shoes, now it switches the dynamic of what is an influencer and who is popular. So someone like a Kevin Hart, who right now is arguably the hottest comedian on the planet right now in terms of selling out arenas, blah 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 blah. He has his own shoe. And Gary Vee, who's in the realm of marketing and PR and all that kind of stuff, he has his own shoe. So it is now changing the dynamic of like, why would you know what's a shoe and all that kind of stuff and that influence.
I want my own shoe because I'm the best in my apartment complex. I guess.
Word.
I want a sneaker just like y'all.
Word up. Give me a scarf and something.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's the most interesting part. Like, I think it was a good move. It was a good move on both parties. It was a good move for Nike because they're going to make more money and they get to be viral without spending that much money. It was a good move on Cap because now he could use that influence and to spread as much. Because if you notice, Kaepernick doesn't do interviews. Like, he rarely ever does it. He lets everyone else talk. He goes, does his thing, does his charity stuff. His girl talks for him, everybody else, but he never actually does interviews because he's never he doesn't want to be that. Even though people put him as the face, if you notice, he's not the most vocal out of every time there's a conversation.
I mean, this is neither here nor there, but you need to hear. Actually, you know what? No, I'm not gonna say that because I'm gonna get in trouble. Never mind.
Don't get fired. Don't get fired.
All I know is sometimes. Look, I'm not. Sometimes Kaepernick can sometimes put a foot in his mouth. Sometimes, like when he said he didn't vote.
Yeah, man, I was gonna say that.
So yes, and we have a big thing with voting, and it's like, I know. I actually agree with you on that. It's annoying, and it's annoying because I think, again, old black people all chimed in saying how that was horrible, that was stupid, blah blah blah. You have a big platform, you shouldn't say that. Everybody,
if he didn't vote, I would have never told no one.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it would have been better for him just not to say it, honestly.
Yeah, that's a PR move.
Yeah, but even then, when he said it, it could go if you want to get really deep with it. He registered to vote in California, more left-leaning, Bay Area, even more left-leaning. So does his vote count? Actually doesn't. But we don't want to get into all those.
I don't think that's what he meant, though.
But it was the symbolism of it that people were mad about. And I think that aspect of it, because I think
he meant that I don't vote in the presidential, because it doesn't really matter and blah, blah.
No. I mean, he actually was correct at that time. But I think it's unfortunate that, in this time, the optics matter, and you need and unfortunately, if you are a black person in the public eye, whether you're rich or not or whatever, you're basically have the race on your back for anything that you do. So when you say something stupid, that's a reflection of the whole culture, as opposed to why are you making us look bad, as opposed to just like, oh well, that one black dude that everyone knows didn't vote, but it doesn't mean that all the black people don't vote.
Yep.
I at the end of the day, I'm kind of meh on the movement. Like, I ride with Kaepernick, but he teamed up with Nike, one of the biggest conglomerates of bullshit. And I mean, look, we all grew up wearing Nikes. I get it. It's a sneaker thing, culture, hip hop, blah blah blah. But to get behind, they're taking our struggle and profiting off of it at the end of the day. And I have a problem with that. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be honest. I don't agree with Cap being with Nike. But if the struggle needs to get funded, I guess it's no better place to start with Nike. But I have a real issue with it, and I can't say, oh, this is some steps in the right direction, even though it might not be the best step. It's a start. No, hell no. I don't agree with this move. Because it's bigger than just being supported by a big corporation. That's just my 2 cents on it.
I agree with you.
Like I said, at the end of the day, I want to rock with Kaepernick, but also I can't get behind how not only Nike but a lot of corporations have been trying to market our struggle and profit off of it.
Yeah,
that's my struggle.
Let me give Cam with a K props real quick, because a lot of people that generally are behind Cap and support his movement, they've gotten the corporate part of it in some of the think pieces, right? But at the same time, they've kind of left Cap alone. Like, he's kind of off limits beyond critique, right? But I give you props for also critiquing him. I don't know if that's because people don't want social media to come after them for critiquing Cap, but even though I don't 100% agree with you, it's all fair game.
Yeah, and I think also you kind of need. I think it's not a bad, again, depending on where you land on the capitalism side, we all have friends, they're socialists, people are capitalists, whatever. But I think you kind of need that healthy debate. I think at the end of the day, for me, I thought it was a good move because how else would you have that much of a viral presence about your message on a global scale? Where if he didn't take that and they just picked, Serena Williams or whatever, whoever else you want to pick, we wouldn't be having this conversation. It would just be like, oh yeah, Cap's still suing the NFL. He's doing his like philanthropy stuff, blah, 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 keep it moving. And so now by doing this one move, it shines a big light on like the quote unquote movement, B, the whole Nike and the capitalism, and people start to have that conversation. Because again, people always forget not everyone hates capitalism, not everyone loves it. Like, there's tons of people that hate it, and there's some people that actually like it. And so in that big muck of it, I think Black people have to kind of figure out where we land in that realm, because our intellectual property and content and what we create is always used to get profited on, and we still haven't figured out a way to keep and profit for ourselves, if you want to put it that way. So there's a select few, and everyone's like, oh yeah, they made it, but like on a general scale, like is what Kaepernick is doing helping the culture? But I don't even know what the culture is at this point in terms of what do you need help with?
Yeah, and to answer your question, Cliff, about why nobody touch Cap, I think it's almost like, oh, here go another brother bringing down another brother when he's trying to do something positive.
That's true. That's a very good point too.
His positive message, you would want that to outlast the little negative that that's coming about.
Well,
so.
Okay, that's true, but one of the writers I saw was actually, I'm pretty sure he was white. I think his reason is because he perceives Cap to be a sympathetic figure in his fight for what he believes in, and any type of criticism of him brings down the movement overall. And it doesn't mean that, but because everybody's in this race of keeping up appearances, right? And it's all about trying to make sure that your side looks best at all times.
Yeah, okay. That's definitely a good point. I mean, and it also goes back to the critiques part, like you said. Like no one can say anything bad about Beyonce, or no one can say anything bad about blah 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 blah. And so when you do, like, I actually think for instance, I actually like a lot of the philanthropy stuff that Kaepernick's been doing, and I'm curious to see how he's going to keep going with it and where he's going to go with this. It's going to be very, very interesting to see in the long run. Now that because before football was almost there, sorta, but now football's pretty much done. So now where is he going to go with it, and how is he going to move in that realm? Because there's not that many people in his at his public public eye that are doing what he's doing. There's tons of people that are doing what he's doing, but not at this level of publicity that people actually know. Even all white people know him stuff too.
But Cam, it's funny, like what Cam said. I just wish the movement that he made, I just wish his backing was from his own pocket instead of a big corporation.
My thing is,
because he has all it takes is $1 million. It only takes is $1,200,000. Nope. Just put because once you put a corporation to back you like that, again, people's gonna say, "Yo, man, you're only doing this for a certain reason. Okay, like, you don't need Nike for this message."
So let's add the hypothetical, right? So what if he was backed by Tristan, I forgot his last name, but he's the owner and CEO of Bevel, right? Black dude, Black owned company. He's making pretty good. I think he's about to go public later on this year. And so he is a corporate company. Like, he's not for the people, or he does products specifically for Black hair and all that kind of stuff. And he's actually becoming a larger corporation and all that. So is it different if he partnered with a smaller but Black company, or does it have to always not be, or does he have to be broke and figure out a way to do it like in a certain way that will appease the people? Like, hey, man, we want you to do good things, but do it somehow with some money that comes out of nowhere, because we just want you to feel, but we want to feel better about supporting you as opposed to supporting some corporate entity, as people want to go back
to answer your question. I wouldn't even go the corporate route. I would go to my fellow NFL players who's backing me and say, "Yo, such and such, let's all put up some money and let's start a campaign." Therefore, there is no corporation that's going to get the money off the backdrop. This is just us. Because, like, you mean to tell me you can't
try to find some way to mess that up?
I mean, even on a larger level, like most athletes, or not most, but a lot of the smarter ones do have their own nonprofits, and they do a lot of work in the communities and stuff, which is dope. I think that's awesome. But as at the scale and the level of that, yeah, I think that it always just comes back to that scale and level. You know, it's like I think for the Black community, we always want people to be this altruistic person, but at the same time, we always want them to be a very specific type of altruistic person.
So, quick question, and this is sort of a tangent, but in the same realm, because you could say that also about the editor-in-chief of Afropunk leaving because of how I guess commercialized he feels it is now. Like, because for him, he was just saying that his main point was that when we first started, we were more pure, right? We were really down for the people, and we really were about Black empowerment and Black beauty and Black excellence. And now the main people there, they don't really care about that. It's just more about corporatized Black excellence.
Yeah, that's a good point. You talking about Afrochella?
Yeah, basically. That's what it is now. But I mean, and this is the problem that all grassroots organizations and everything starts with. They start with the dream and an idea, and they're scrappy and they make it happen. And then you're right. You get to a certain point where like, okay, do you make this a thing or you just keep being scrappy? And then they're like, well, let's make it a thing. All right. So now here comes in corporate money. Now the change is coming. Is it going to be more amenable to everyone, or is it just going to be how you?
It's almost like a paradox. It's like for the growth that you want, for the people that you want to reach, you're not going to be able to stay that small underground Mos Def Talib Kweli thing in the late 90s. You're not going to be able to stay that forever if you're going to want to grow and reach as many people as you're trying to reach.
Yeah, but I mean,
I just wish if you're going to talk about the struggle, have some people that's going to back you who know about the struggle. That's all I'm trying to say. Like, if you're going to, because you're impacting a lot of people, to Cam's point, like when it comes to discrimination, all the stuff he's talking about, that's very sensitive, man. And at what point is it really going to mean something? For real.
If in the next year or so, Kap and Nike makes an announcement like LeBron, right? And he says he's going to start a school like how LeBron did. Would that make you feel a little bit better?
Repeat that one more time. So I could repeat that one more time, Cliff.
Like if Kap and Nike within the next year or so announced that he was going to do a school like how LeBron did, would that make you feel a little bit better?
Now you're saying now are you saying that based off of he got the money to do that because of Nike? That's what you're trying to imply?
Yeah, the put up.
And that's the angle.
Yeah.
You see that? I like you think you slick on that one too, Clay.
I'm honestly asking. I'm honestly asking because it's a possibility.
Well, you know what?
You saying take blood money for a greater good. That's what
exactly. That's what he said, Kim. That's what he said.
It all comes down to the integrity of Kaepernick. If he knows where the money is coming from and the intentions of the company, that's a moral, ethical decision that he needs to make. Now, this is like in the movies where you have those villains that are sacrificed for the greater good, like Thanos. He thinks his truth is going to be for the betterment of the world, and he will be willing to sacrifice that intermediate hurt for a longer lasting happiness. And if Kaepernick feels that way, then maybe so be it. That all falls down on the individual.
That's individual. Yeah, that's individual.
As we were just talking, I was actually curious. So I looked up Beyonce. She has two charities that she fools with. She has her own one. It's like Be Good or Bay Good, sorry. And then she has another one, Chime for Change, which is co-founded with Salma Hayek. But their major funder is Gucci. And there's a big old founded by Gucci on here, which is really hilarious. So it's interesting to kind of see that aspect of it, because I think if there's a big thing in entrepreneur right now, and there's both sides of it, but one of it is there's like this thing called social entrepreneurship, where you start a business with the intention of affecting a social change. So it's baked into your charter. So you're basically a nonprofit thinking, but you're actually making money at the same time. So some people say that's bullshit, you can't do it. Other people are like, oh, this is actually not a bad idea. So it's interesting to see where that kind of falls into, because in a perfect world, say for instance, if we do more on the socialism aspect where we actually treat people like people, then that would actually work. We wouldn't have these type of things.
That's the hard part. It's like, how do you go from, when you think of 400 years of slavery, capitalism induced slavery, to just straight utopia?
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
You can't really make that hop. Like that.
We've only been out of slavery for like how long? Like less than 100 years, some craziness like something stupid like that. So again, it goes back to like if Cap wasn't part of this the campaign and he was still doing what you were doing, would people be even talking about it? No, they wouldn't. They would just be like, oh,
But it would.
yeah, Cap's talking he's doing the NFL. He's doing some good stuff over here. He's doing, working with the kids. He's doing, speeches and all that kind of stuff, working with different athletes, but no one would be having this conversation. And so I think it was smart on a capitalist business aspect for Nike to whoever put the campaign together to be like, yo, we need to get that dude because that will increase our thing. But it was also, I think it's smart on Cap's end just because he's like, all right, well, let's see if I can be on this campaign that brings my message to a larger audience and makes it even bigger. Now, what am I going to do with it now? And I think I'm curious to see what happens next.
Okay, now that's an interesting question because this is where it is on Cap. It's like you've gotten all this attention, this press, this money. All right, how do you move forward now? This is the hard part for you. I mean, the NFL stuff like standing up, know your rights, and taking a knee, all that stuff. Obviously, that was a Herculean effort. But now it's like, all right, the real work is starting to happen. You're getting all this back in. What you got next for us? And it better be something good. And like you got the spotlight on you.
Yeah, I agree. No, I totally agree.
I agree. I agree too on that one.
Yeah,
the stage is yours. The stage is yours. You got the criticism, rightfully so, good criticism because this is what you needed. What are you going? You got to talk. You cannot sit back and only talk in commercials. You can't do that because now I'm gonna see you as a hypocrite. You just like Nike and everybody else.
I mean, I can't even take you serious because all I see is your forehead moving.
And with that, we're gonna wrap it up. Get to some final words. And what's your final word?
My final word is I'm hoping Thursday we're supposed to get like a Category 4 hurricane. I'm just hoping everything is smooth and everybody's safe. And if it is, then we'll be talking about my New York Giants next week.
Oh Lord. Cam, what's your final word?
I'm gonna say my heart really goes out to anyone rooting for an 0-1 team. I can't relate to that level of poverty, but you're in my prayer.
Jab, stab. Cliff, what's your final word?
Well, I guess to stay on the sports analogy, I don't watch football, but I watch basketball from time to time, and I'm really interested to see how next season we go from record of shot attempts to a new record of shot attempts with these rule changes, which is going to be insane and ridiculous.
You'll go to State fan, right?
No. No.
That was a little bit too much guessing.
I was just messing with you. I'll just mess because the bandwagon is real. The bandwagon is real, man.
Yeah, save it for the NBA special.
We'll say that. Yeah.
See, my final word is lately I've been listening to this podcast called The Wilderness, and it's a breakdown of politics and the whole democratic process, and more on the Democrat side, but it talks about everything from the election of Obama to the election of Trump to all of Obama's failures to all of his positives to all of Trump's failures to all of Trump's failures. And but it's super nerdy and it's super wonky, but it's actually really dope because there's a one specific episode they talk about diversity and how the changing diversity of the electorate and how you have to the voting is and everything else. And so it's actually super dope because it talks to a lot of experts, talk about basically how white people are going to be the minority sooner than they think, and more people of color, women, and everything else need to actually pay attention. And the one positive thing about this whole Trumpito reign is that people actually pay attention to politics now, and now they're starting to see how fucked up it is. It has always been, and now they're actually actively trying to change it, whether it's running for office, whether it's getting involved, whether it's paying attention. And I think that part is actually pretty dope. So it's by the Crooked Media folks, and I think there's like 10 episodes now, but it's definitely pretty dope.
There is one topic we didn't discuss. Maybe we'll get on it next time. Is Crazy Rich Asians. I think we should talk about that, but we'll say that for another episode.
Yeah. We'll do a little Crazy Rich Asians review because I watched it, Cam watched it, and then when everyone else does, we'll catch up and we'll chime in before the time is over. But This is the Table of Truth, and we are out.
One.
Peace.
Peace.